Welcome to the Beatles Talk Show for February 25th. And happy birthday, George Harrison. This has always been the date that's been officially documented as his birth date, but it has been proven that he actually was born on December 24th. But we just out of tradition celebrate George's birthday on this date. Yes, he was the youngest Beatle of them all. He was born at 12 Arnold Grove in Wavertree, Liverpool, England. He was the fourth and youngest child in his family. And he was born at 11:42 p.m. on February 24th. And George would officially acknowledge this in a Billboard magazine interview in 1992, that he did know that this date was officially wrong.
Do you know that George has a sister, Louise? Did you know that? I'm not sure if I think she's younger, if I remember correctly.
So for many people, you know, George is their favorite member. He's my favorite member.
Is he?
I even have a personal tie to George. His My Sweet Lord was the #1 song on the radio around the world the day I was born, in fact.
I have a personal tie of George's too, but I keep it hung in my closet.
You never wear it. Okay.
Never wear it.
All right. So George, just like the rest of them all, did have successful solo careers, had many hit albums and singles on his own merit.
Yes.
He's one of the most widely recognized guitar players of all time.
He was, one thing to say about George, I mean, you have John Lennon and Paul McCartney, who are the greatest songwriters of all time. It had to have been very difficult to be like the third wheel in that unit. But George really shone later on, didn't he? Because his songs are like my favorite songs off the Abbey Road album, I think. You know. Yeah,
in fact, to this date now, Here Comes the Sun is now the best-selling Beatles song ever, like on iTunes.
That's right.
And that's remarkable considering it was never even a single. So it's built such a cult status, you know, that millions of people just love this song to this date.
That's true. I shouldn't say my favorite songs. I mean, obviously, in my opinion, Paul McCartney took over the Beatles after Sgt. Pepper, around that period. And Paul's song is Medley at the end of Abbey Road, second to none. Just fantastic. So, I mean, you know, Beatle Brothers, yeah. But we got to give credit where credit is due, is what I'm saying. George is right up there, too.
On this date in 1963, VJ Records, which is a small record label in Chicago, United States, released the very first American Beatles single, and it was Please Please Me. Unfortunately, it would not become a hit for VJ in 1963, but they would re-release it in 64, and it would become a huge smash that time.
Was the B-side the song Ask Me Why? Sung by John. That's still one of my favorite early Beatles songs. I really like that song a lot.
On this date in 1964, the Beatles were in the studio in London, and they finished their new single, Can't Buy Me Love, and did a whole bunch of takes of the B-side, You Can't Do That. And this was the first time John Lennon played lead guitar on one of their recordings.
I got something to say that might cause you pain. I got you talking to that boy again. I'm gonna let you down, leave you flat. Actually, that song, they would always, when they'd open their 1964 concerts, they would do Twist and Shout, and then they'd do that song, You Can't Do That, because that powerful of a song that they thought, hey, let's do this as the second song in our concert tour. It was always one of my favorite Lennon vocals. A great, great song.
Yep. On that same day after they were finished recording those songs, they went and there was a birthday party for George, who was now turning 21. But when he found out that the press was invited to the party, he smashed his cake and he walked out of the party.
Why would he do that? Just because the press was showing up?
Frustration, you can imagine. They've just now spent the last 3 weeks constantly bombarded by the press.
Wow.
And they're not used to this, you know.
Isn't that something?
Yep.
Okay.
On this day in 1965, the Beatles were still in the Bahamas filming their second movie, Help. This was their first movie in color, and really gave Ringo a big feature role in this movie. Yeah.
It was a good film.
On this date in 1967, the Beatles' promo films for Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane were aired on American TV.
Nice.
And later they'd even air on American Bandstand.
With Dick Clark, right?
On this date in 1968, George Harrison celebrated his 25th birthday while he was in India. And you know what he got for a birthday present?
A plastic map.
A plastic map of the world was given to him by the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So,
isn't that something? Sexy Sadie. Okay. Here's a young fella, 25, 26.
And the Beatles were kind of nice to George on his 26th birthday in 1969 while they were doing recordings towards the Abbey Road album.
Okay.
They spent the day and recorded all George songs, and they were working on demos of Old Brown Shoe, Something, and All Things Must Pass.
Good song. That's a great tune.
Yeah.
All Things Must Pass.
So three truly classic George songs, all demoed on the same day.
Now I got to say
his
this.
birthday.
His birthday. There you go. Happy birthday again. 1972, Paul McCartney and Wings released "Give Ireland Back to the Irish," with the B-side "Give Ireland Back to the Irish" instrumental, which I have on Apple 45. I've got 2 copies of that. I think it went to number 16 in the charts for 4 weeks.
In the UK, yeah.
In the UK. Not a well-known song by McCartney, but it's interesting that it's a protest song, obviously. Very much so, and I wonder if it has to do with because John was doing protest songs at that time. Was it a reply?
Yeah, it could have been a competition, maybe. It seems actually quite out of character for Paul because he really never did anything too controversial.
And it was right around this time he also did the song "Mary Had a Little Lamb." So talk about 2 sides of the equation there. You couldn't get much different. But I think Paul has some real ties. Or how can I say this? He's very sympathetic. Was very sympathetic to the Irish cause, very much so, like John was to obviously his causes. And I give Paul 2 thumbs up for that reason.
Yeah.
Against the British Empire.
And one of the most shocking things that ever happened in Beatles history on this date in 1985, Paul McCartney was sued by George, Ringo, and Yoko.
Was he?
Because they all felt that he was cheating and he was taking higher royalties from Beatle Records than they were all getting.
Well, that's because him and John wrote most of the songs, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it can't be that. They wouldn't have gone away with a court case over that. I think it was just plain, even being the artist, Paul was taking a bigger cut.
Okay.
So I'm not sure the outcome of this case, but it's interesting that the Beatles started to push re-releases and stuff shortly after this, so maybe that was a way for them all start making money.
One thing should be noted real quick before we end here. A lot of the stuff that goes on, like what we've just talked about, has nothing to do with Paul. It's he's got a lot of people working for him, and they make the decisions. Paul has a lot going on. He can't look after all this. So, we can't really blame Paul for this. It's probably more his people at the time that were working, whether they be lawyers or accountants or whatever, for him. So, I don't blame him at all.
All right, there you go. Some very cool news, and happy birthday, George.
Happy birthday, lad. See you guys.
So my dear friends, come back when you can.